Everyone checked in. I see that we have Matt Lashide from the Cincinnati Zoning Department. Welcome, Matt.
Morning. Thank you.
I see that we have, is it Bashar Nahab?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Nahab is, who are you representing here today?
I'm representing myself. So I'm the owner of the building at this point.
Got it. All right. Fantastic. Welcome. There we go. Sorry, I'm just pulling up one document here quickly. All right. I see that we have someone in the car under the name Knowledge.
I'm not sure where I got that moniker, but my name is Thomas Arnold. I am the architect and the applicant on this project.
Okay, great. Welcome. And Mr. Arnold, just one caution, as I notice you're in the car, I'd ask that as you're participating in this hearing, that the car stays stationary. Just
that would be wise
for your reference as we go. I can't allow you to participate and also be driving. It has happened before, or attempted to happen before. Welcome, Mr. Arnold. Okay, I see we also have Mr. Stephen Vogel. Mr. Vogel, welcome. Can you hear me okay?
I can, Mr. Turkey, thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Vogel, you are with the Mount Adams Civic Association, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Looks like we also have one more individual here under Noor Sabaga. I'm sure that I am mispronouncing that, but if you're there, if you could unmute for me. Sabega, if
so Noor is actually my wife. So
okay.
I know she's at work. She probably is double logging into other meetings probably. So.
Did she want to provide testimony here today?
No, she's just
observing.
around. Yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic. Are you expecting anyone else, Mr. Nahab, to join us today on the applicant owner side?
Not really.
Okay. All right, great. Let's go ahead and get started then. As I said, my name is David Sturkey. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us is case number ZH20230132. That's 1033 St. Gregory. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Anyone from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll hear from the zoning plans examiner, Matt Lashide, if he would like to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within approximately 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from me fully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, asking any questions, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you are off mute at this time and raise your right hand, I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And Mr. Nahab, if you could just unmute and confirm that you do swear.
I do.
Okay, great. Okay, who's going to be taking the lead here on telling us about the project today and why this relief is appropriate? It'll need to be Mr. Nahab or Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, David.
Yeah, floor is yours.
This is, and just as an aside, I'll mention that I'm very familiar with this building. We've been through a hearing process previously a few years back with another owner. That plan was more ambitious, and we were attempting to expand that building such that within the hillside overlay it required a number of variances, and we went through that process amidst COVID and got it approved. They were ready to start construction, and like a lot of things with COVID, it just didn't happen. So here we are sometime later, and this time not looking to expand the building, but just renovate the building from within. Some minor exterior modifications only to the extent that we're adding some windows to make the interior space viable and to improve the building overall, just to finally put it to use. It's been vacant for a number of years, and the proposed use is mixed. We are interested in creating an apartment in the back part of the building, which was an addition built years ago, and the original footprint of the building and some expansions that took place to that over the years to the side and towards St. Gregory will be renovated and used as leasable commercial space. And I can let Dr. Nahab speak to that ultimately, but there is not a specific tenant at this point, so we would just be finishing it as a white box to be detailed by such tenants in the future.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
the building itself occupies virtually all of the site. There is no existing parking nor any opportunity to add parking. So our interest in the variance is simply to make the building viable. We need to be relieved of the requirement for a couple of parking spaces.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'll admit that I have not had an opportunity to review the prior approval on this. I do vaguely recall the application for this address, but are you saying that this is actually going to be require less zoning relief and there will not be as much of an expansion of the property?
Yes, there will be no alteration of the footprint.
Okay.
The other one was going out and up. Here, it's simply the relief of the parking requirement that we're
Got it.
looking for to support the renovation of the building.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. I'm going to go out of order here just for a minute and ask our zoning expert, Mr. Lashide, is there any use of this building that would not require a parking variance?
I don't believe so, unless they were using it the way that it was previously used, and that use was grandfathered in as existing non-conforming. Other than that, I think any redevelopment of the building would likely trigger a parking requirement and a variance if the building occupies the whole lot and there's no other parking option.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Lashide. Mr. Arnold, is the building currently vacant?
It is.
How long has it been vacant?
It's been vacant for at least the number of years I've been involved with the previous project, so that's at least 3 years.
Gotcha. So that previous use would be abandoned then, right, Matt?
Mr. Vogel can probably speak to that as a Mount Adams resident.
Sure.
That other neighbors that I've talked to suggest that it's been empty for a considerable period of time.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay. Mr. Nahab, did you want to provide anything?
Yeah, right in time. So I just want to give background myself. Me and my family moved to Cincinnati about 2 to 3 years ago, and we're trying to really settle in Cincinnati, and we found some opportunities. One of the things this building really, it's to my knowledge, it's 4 years been vacant. Prior owner had some plans, didn't work in a way or so, and we kind of want to revive and what this building and what we want to present, something really more for the community in Mount Adams. We don't have a specific plans, but as of now, it's really just 2 levels, and these are just like a shell, almost a shell. The plan is to do mix, like a small residential in the back and 2 separate commercial, so to speak, in the front, and something really more to serve the community. if anything, and the space is not too large. So now the building is a corner lot. Any addition from parking standpoint is really going to affect the square footage, and that's a limitation. It's not just that. If you're going to add, it will also limit the parking on the street side. So it's not it will only just shift this parking spot from the street side into the building and lose the value, a lot of the value for the building standpoint. So this is what we want to do, and trying to explore from modification. We're not expanding on anything, just to make sure. We may add a deck in the back that's on the top of the building, but nothing. I don't know if that's relevant now or not, but no expansion from other than what we just mentioned. I don't have anything else to add, but I think this is I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really valuable for the community in Mount Adams. Is going to add certain things and add also some ability from a residential standpoint.
Okay, great. We do have someone trying to join late. I'm going to let them in, but I'm going to go ahead and turn to Mr. Vogel to see if Mr. Vogel, let me just do a quick introduction before you do that. I see that we have someone joining us late here, Valerie Kreimer. Ms. Kreimer, are you with us? If so, if you could unmute for me for a minute.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, it took me, I have a new laptop and I had a hard time logging in.
Sure, no problem. Can you tell me who you're representing here today? Or
just myself. I'm an owner at 1041 St. Gregory.
Gotcha. Okay, great. We're just about to move to public comment, and so I will give you an opportunity to speak here in just a moment if you want to stay with us.
Sure, I'm going to shut my office door.
Mr. Vogel, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mr. Turkey. I just recall probably met with you, Mr. Arnold. I know we met for the facts here. The previous variance request was with respect to only the setback issues. You were going to be resolving a little bit of the back footprint of the building, and these were minor setbacks. There was nothing in that application, and this is again from 2020. So is that the one you were referring to, Mr. Arnold?
Correct.
Yeah, there was nothing in that application, and I recall dealing with the roof there. It was going to be an outdoor seating area, and there might be some perimeter protection on the perimeter, whether it was going to be a lattice or type of fence or clear plexiglass, I don't recall. But that was not part of there was no application in respect to that. It wasn't necessary because this is the height limitation here is 50 feet. The only thing I'd be interested in is just to hear Mr. Nahab, because this will come up with respect to members of the community, with the anything on the roof. If it gets to be significant, that would require another application. But understanding we're not anticipating anything right now in respect to this particular project, correct?
That is correct. And also just to add, the roof was recently replaced. It's a brand new roof. So we're not really trying to expand from that. Again, we said could be there is an opportunity for a small deck in the back, but that's I don't think is going to change the height. And if anything, we're going to comply with whatever needs from city standpoint.
Would leave that for Mr. Arnold. Would the deck extension be going into the setback requirements?
It would not, and Matthew can speak to that from a zoning perspective. And you're right, Mr. Vogel, that the height is not really the restriction. The previous project, we were going to add a full story and a roof deck on top of that. So that there may have been some other periphery zoning issues associated with that, but I don't think it was the overall height limitation because it is quite high. But it was again all relating to setbacks, both side and rear, I believe, given that we're on a corner lot.
I just have one more question. This, if I could, Mrs. Sturkey, just address this to Mr. Lashide. I mean, our general awareness is that the city is adjusting parking requirements or considering, or has, or is considering to do. Is that generally thought correct?
There are ongoing conversations and we've had public meetings. We're still in the process of taking some of the feedback that we received from the public and preliminarily drafting what legislation might look like, but we don't have any changes at this time.
Yeah,
What
I think it's Mr.
what is the current requirement with respect to this particular property then?
Currently, so the zoning code allows for a building in this zoning district to be exempt for parking up to 2,000 square feet for a commercial use. And because the commercial use that's proposed here is 2,246 square feet, that extra 246 square feet, they're required to provide parking for that at a rate of 1 parking for that square footage, and then 1 parking space for the residential unit. So they're required by code for this building to provide 2 parking spaces, and the application is not providing any, so that's why we're here.
And I think Mr. Arnold was aware of this. We from Civic Association, we had no notice of this until very late, and some of that is just because of the summer. And so I'm just asking a question for the record. Did Mr. Scheid, have you written into the record of your examination report on this application?
Yeah, the staff report was added to project docs about 2 weeks ago, and the community council was added as an interested party and should have been notified, as well as neighboring property owners. And I can email you that report if you'd like, Mr. Vogel.
If you could, because again, we're running into this. I mean, this is now, I'm sorry to, this is a segue, and I'll be quick, Mr. Sturkey, but we're running into problems on these notices. You know, normally we get a notice that it's in our mailbox, and then of course we go into it and look, but we have not received a notice about filing in this proceeding. So I mean, we get a green card, and I don't know why they just can't come up electronic notices about this now, because the Civic Association, there are various people associated with this going into a PO box, and it takes a long time for this stuff to circulate around. I've been dealing with this for over 6 years now. Be great for the city to advance its interest a little bit and notice these things for electronic purposes when they have a notice of the interested party for that purpose. I have no further questions, but I just make that comment.
Sure. Just a quick response on a couple of those points. And Mr. Vogel, I'm happy. I know that we have in the past, and I'm happy to again discuss our notification procedures and how that works. But there are emails generated automatically that go to the email that we have on file for the Mount Adams Civic Association that notify you every time a document is added.
And who do I find out,
Mr.?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sturkey, who do I ask about who that record is? Is that with Miss Cassandra, Miss Maines?
Yeah, Miss Manus can provide that, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, that email address, I know because we've talked about this before. It's in there, and the emails are sent. We have even records of the emails. When the emails are sent, we can see when they're opened. Oftentimes, Mr. Vogel, I've noticed that when you're not made aware of these cases, someone from the Mount Adams Civic Association is looking at these documents. I mean, I've seen that in the past. And so I think there is some breakdown maybe on your side, but I'd be happy to dig into this more offline.
Yeah, appreciate that. I won't burden.
We can talk about it. Yeah.
I'll talk to Cassandra, Mr. Sturkey. I don't need to burden you with that.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And there are serious discussions occurring with, I believe, council right now and some of the planning department about reducing some of the regulatory barriers when it comes to parking and businesses and residential. I don't think the finer points of that have all been worked out yet. And of course, it has to go through what can often be a lengthy legislative process to get those new regulations enacted. And so I know that as it does go through that process, there will be a significant amount of community engagement and opportunity for different community groups and community members to provide their input before the legislation is finalized and passed. And so I would be on the lookout for that again through your civic association for news of that pending legislation. Just to provide you with that, Mr. Vogel. Mr. Lashai, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just double checked to make sure, and we do have the email address that we have on file for the Mount Adams Civic Association is frankobermeyer@yahoo.com, and a notice was sent to that email address when the case was created several weeks ago. So if that email address needs to be updated, please let us know.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Vogel. I appreciate you being here and thanks for your input. Okay, Mr. Crimer, or I'm sorry, Ms. Crimer. I know you came in a bit late. Are you aware of what the proposed project is and what the relief is that they're requesting?
And I apologize, guys. I don't want to make you have to recap it, but it's my understanding just from the postcard is that, and I view this building, I think I bought my condo in 2016 or 2017. So first of all, it already looks better. I welcome the opportunity for somebody to develop this property. Just want to better understand what the end purpose would be. So 2 apartments and commercial space, is that correct?
Mr.
Just
Arnold, do you
one
want to
apartment.
quickly recap?
Yeah, just a single apartment at the Jerome end of the building. And then the balance would be the commercial space which fronts St. Gregory and working back from the corner.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and Ms. Kramer, as I'm sure you're aware, that the property doesn't have any room for any off-street parking, and the code requires, based on the size of the commercial space, that they provide 2 off-street parking spaces. They're asking me today to grant them a variance that excuses them from that requirement so that they can redevelop the property, open the commercial space and the apartment.
Yep. And I understand that. And selfishly, I have my condo is currently zoned commercial. And when I attempted with the city years ago to try and get that rezoned as residential, I am the only commercial condominium at 1041 St. Gregory. The rest are all residential. My unit actually used to be part of a residential unit, and I could go on and on. But I had just so many astronomical financial challenges trying to get an 800 square foot condo converted to residential. So I'm curious how about this project, and selfishly about how possibly in the future I might be able to convert mine to truly a residential unit.
So I think that's something that our zoning department would be happy to discuss with you in more detail, and try to help you work through.
Yeah, can I give you my phone number?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, let's talk after this hearing. I'm at 513
Okay.
352
Okay.
3964.
Okay. And Matt, I'm sorry, how do you spell your last name?
LASCHEID, with the City of Cincinnati zoning
Great.
department.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
Great. And so Ms. Kramer, my understanding then is you don't have a position either in support, or do you support the request for the variance, or are you opposed or neutral?
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to it. Like I said, I really just wanted to kind of understand better. I mean, parking has gotten tighter up there since I purchased my unit. I owned a 4-family in OTR years ago. And of course, the moment I sold it, like a month later is when the permits became available for parking. So I know you said that there are some things in the works as far as parking might be concerned, especially for residents. I would welcome some ideas, but I also don't want to keep this building from being developed, because I think the end product is going to be nice, but I realize that parking is getting tighter in Mount Adams.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and your testimony. Mr. Vogel, I forgot to ask whether the Mount Adams Civic Association has a position on this application.
Well, unless there's anything else that's going to be shared substantively here, and on the basis that we're only looking at a variance with respect to that parking requirement, we have no opposition to this project.
Okay. All right.
And if it helps, I did actually reach out to the other 4 owners at our complex, and nobody there was opposed to it either. And in fact, they were they were hopeful that the building, you know, that's really probably the last property in that area that isn't updated or remodeled.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Going to go back to the owner, Mr. Nahab, and the architect, Mr. Arnold. Is there anything else you'd like to provide in closing or otherwise before we adjourn today?
No, I just want to thank you all for really being understanding. And Mr. Kramer, we didn't get a chance to meet, but here we do. I'm happy to share, but just to give you just a background, I told the people in this meeting, we just moved me and my family about 2 years ago to Cincinnati, and we're looking forward to kind of make this property something very useful for the community in Mount Adams. So I appreciate your support, and really, I'm happy to share contact information with you to help each other in the future as well. I think we can collaborate in many ways.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Do you want my cell phone?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, we're actually a lot of cell phones in this meeting, so I think that's a good. But so here's my cell phone: 586-344-9348. Once again, 586-344-9348. Feel free to text me, and so I can reply to you.
Okay, great.
I have nothing. Thank you. I have nothing else to add.
Okay. I think I failed to give Mr. Lashide an opportunity to provide any testimony regarding his staff report if he would like, but did you want to provide anything?
Yeah, thanks, David. So I think we've talked about the zoning relief needed here. The building is existing, as you correctly outlined. Pretty much any redevelopment of this building would likely require a parking variance. The only option would be to demolish part or all of the building to replace it with parking, or to come to some sort of agreement with a neighboring property owner to use their parking, which, as we've outlined during this hearing, it's already difficult and hard to come by sometimes. The intent of this neighborhood commercial pedestrian oriented zoning district is to provide for small scale mixed use buildings like this one. I think it's just where we draw the line in our zoning code of 2,000 square feet and under doesn't require parking. This building's just barely over 2,000 square feet. Building's existing already. It's been existing for a long time. That's outside the applicant's control. And the presence of a building that occupies almost the entire lot with no parking or very little parking is pretty common in Mount Adams. Most of that neighborhood was developed before people even had cars. So I think it's a substantial property right enjoyed by others, and staff is happy to recommend approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lashide. Mr. Arnold, anything else you want to provide in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, I think everything's been well articulated. I appreciate your time.
Okay, great. I have had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report on this, and based on that and based on the testimony I've heard here today from everyone, including the Mount Adams Civic Association and Ms. Crimer, neighboring property owner, I think that I agree with Mr. Lashide and with the applicants that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application. And so based again on all of that information, I am going to approve the requested variance. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. I think that that's probably a reasonable expectation based on the current queue of cases I have and an impending holiday, I think, within those 2 weeks. And so what I do is as soon as I finish the decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. To the applicants, as soon as you have that, Mr. Lashide can approve the zoning permit, and hopefully that'll allow you to move forward on the project. If anyone has any questions about the process, the procedure, I'm happy to answer those now or in the meantime. Also, if you'd like a status update on where I'm at with the decision, you can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to provide you with a status update on that as well. Any questions from anyone right now?
I just have. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, please.
I just have one quick question. Are there architectural drawings or anything that you could share?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I assume you registered for this hearing, right, Ms. Kramer?
I did.
Okay, so we have your email.
Yeah.
When this hearing's over, I'm happy to share some of the application materials and the staff report with you as well.
Okay, great.
Sure. All right, great. Well, if there's nothing else, hope you all have a wonderful day.
But,
Thank you again for your testimony. Yeah,
Mr. Sturkey,
Vogel?
I'm
Sure.
sorry. Could you copy me on the email to Valerie, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Will do. All right.
Okay.
Have a great day, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you, everyone.